Howdy YouTube. So I haven't done a masking video for a while, so I thought I might as well just flick the cam on and take you through this job. So we've got a Benz C250 here. There was actually quite a reasonable size repair on the boot lid of this one over there. You'd probably call it, I think they call it the deck lid or the trunk, trunk lid or something like that in the USA. We call it a boot and a boot lid here in Australia. But all of that aside, yeah, just got a little bit of masking, and then we've got a rear bumper, brand new rear bumper cover that was all split through here. Yeah, it was obviously just hitting the back. There was a bit of a chip here, so I managed to sand that out without actually going through it. There was another one here, so I didn't even end up going through the bare metal, so I won't need any primer or anything, which is good. We've actually been trialing a new primer. It's getting colder here in Perth, and a couple of jobs I noticed the primer was cracking. Like, the bosses thought it was and look, no one else is convinced that it was the primer, but I am. Everyone else thinks it was the body filler, but I had a job that was cracking where there was no body filler, and I put it down to the primer. It was a cheaper primer, and it's one of those things, maybe in summer when it's drying that little bit quicker, it's okay, but yeah, I don't think it's really liking the cooler weather. But yeah, all that aside, let's continue on with the masking here. What was another thing? That's right, I wanted to mention that for a while now I've been talking about air pressures and temperatures and all of that, and whilst I was right about having to use lower pressures in the summer, but I was wrong about the reasons, so I thought I'd better clear this up. Now, you know, I don't mind being wrong as long as at the end of the day it's a journey, you know, like your life is a journey, and when I learn something, I like to know why. I've always been that kid, you know, like that asks, you know, when my dad would tell me something, I'd be like, but why? Why? You know, why is it that I was using lower pressure in the summer? I thought it was to do with like air being less or more dense during the colder or warmer weather, but it's not. It's actually literally just to do with the thickness of the paint. So in winter, the paint's going to be a little bit thicker, so you're going to need more pressure to draw the same amount of paint out. Nick Joyner did actually tell me that, and I'm like, okay, well, he could be right. And then I put it to the test, so I actually know from practice that he is right, not just taking someone's word for it. So what I ended up doing was heating the clear up one morning, and then it turned out that even though the weather was colder, I actually needed the lower pressure. And then, yeah, in the afternoon I didn't heat the clear up, and it turned out I did need that higher pressure. So just double check that we are right to plastic. Yep, that side's done, and that side's done. Let's throw this bit of plastic over. So yeah, the colour on this one was terrible off the machine. I spent about maybe 20 or 30, 20 minutes probably mixing and matching it last night, and I got it pretty good. So it was that bad. It was like really blue. So I just like dumped heaps of silver in it, and then just tweaked it here and there, which is something that I would actually like to do some more videos on, but just where I'm working at the moment, and I don't know, I think that's something I'd like to get more of when I get my own shop again, like do more color matching videos when I do get into my own shop again, where I sort of got that little bit more time. And here, like, there's people all over the place, and you look like a weirdo when you're just like talking to yourself in front of the camera. And then if I've got the music on in the background, YouTube barks at you that, you know, you've got copyrighted music in there and that. So yeah, for now, I can't say we're going to have heaps of color matching videos, but yes, it's definitely something I have planned on doing more in the future. Another thing on this job, I don't think I'm going to use wet on wet primer. I don't need it. Like, that bumper's primed, that's all primed, the boot lid's all primed. There's no cut throughs or excuse me, all the cut throughs that I did get I primed with a little bit of 1K etch primer. There was only like 2 tiny little cut throughs, so they're all primed up. And as I said, like this color was pretty bad, so I did have to tip sort of like 300 or so mils to the side because, to continue matching it, or else I would have ended up with like 1.5 liters. So yeah, I'm going to use that stuff that I tipped out at the start as a bit of a ground coat. So I'll put that down first and then continue on with the proper color. So although, you know, like that bumper's dark grey now, so you wouldn't want to go and put your top coat colour straight over that. You'd probably want to get like a lighter grey primer there. But if I use the slightly blue metallic as the ground coat, it'll be just fine. Yeah, it's actually a little bit annoying, like one of my top videos on my main channel is it's like poison ivy green spray painting, and I don't know, everyone seems to be like in a consensus, or most people at least that leave comments are like, oh, I would have used sealer. And look, that was a pretty damn nice car. It was like a VE when that was still pretty new, and I found with this system, if I put wet on wet primer down, for starters it's going to pinch up and it'll die, like sort of you'll lose a bit of the gloss, and also like I was spraying the whole side of the car, and you get wet on wet primer all through your door gaps, and it actually takes longer than just to put an extra bit of green down. So you know, we were using Metalux on that job, and what happened is it was a decent size, like full front end and the side, so they sent out the Metalux paint and it was wrong, like really bad, so I ended up sending out another 2 liters. So, and I knew it didn't cover that well, so I just ended up using the wrong color, which was still green, as a bit of a ground coat. So it did take a lot of color to cover, but yeah, everyone's like, oh, you know, you should have used a sealer or a wet on wet primer or something like that. At the end of the day, I'm well aware that you can use them, but with the system that I was using at that time, I wasn't confident using it, and I still think I did the right thing. But I guess the annoying thing is that I didn't explain that in the video, and then the fact that the video is like one of my most viewed videos, actually it is my most viewed video, and then like doing something that I didn't sort of properly explain in the video. But that was one of my really early videos, like in the first year of me making videos, you know, like it was up to me, man. There'd be heaps of other videos of mine that would have, you know, top spot with 2 million plus views on it, but you know, that's YouTube for you, I guess. Yeah, as I say, like you don't need to use wet on wet on everything with solvent, you know. They're actually talking of they reckon that they're phasing Standox solvent out here in Australia too, so that's a bit of a pity. I like using this system, but yeah, they're talking about getting in Stando Blue, which whilst it's a great system, I don't even know if I really want to use it here. You know, we try and smash the jobs out as fast as possible for the boss, and you know, when you have to take everything to the next step because you're using, and it takes longer to dry through your base coats and all that, I don't know if it's the right system for this shop. Personally, at this point, I'd nearly even rather go something like Cyrox, which is just a standard 3-coat system, similar to spraying solvent and spraying that quite temperamental, slow drying Stando Blue. Everything needs the value shade down, you know, everything needs wet on wet. As I say, like I know it's a good quality system, but it just seems to touch on the slow side for me. I'd nearly rather put 3 coats down and wait a little bit between each coat than put 2 coats down and wait ages between them 2 coats, you know, because you've got to smash it on so heavy it takes forever to dry. I don't think that it'll end up coming in. They're going to bring it in as a demo, and then I'm going to sort of keep my nose out of it as much as I can and let the other guys decide what they think of it. So I already know what I think of it, but if they like it and the bosses like it, well then I'll use it again. But even where I used to work, they had Chromax Pro, which is exactly the same as Stando Blue, and they got rid of it not long after I left. And I said I called up the painter that was still working there, and they got the Octoral system in and said, hey, what do you think, you know, that versus the Chromax Pro, the Octoral? And he's like, oh man, Octoral's better. It's easier to spray, it's more user friendly, colors are good. You know, he said it's just a much better system than the more expensive Chromax Pro. So at the end of the day, man, you don't always get what you pay for. They were spending crazy money on that back then. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think that Standox solvent is Standox water is the right product for this shop. Like, let's just say, for instance, if I was spraying this in Standox water, I would have had to have finished that boot lid off finer. I mean, I'm very confident that I'll be able to spray solvent straight over that boot lid. I won't need any wet on wet, but if I was spraying Stando Blue, I'd need to. So it's an extra procedure that you know, it's an extra thing that you have to do. And then because you're kind of only getting pseudo coverage, like not full coverage, if you put it on that panel, you got to put it on the top of this panel, and if you put it on the top of this panel, you're going to get overspray all over here, and if you get overspray all over here, you have to wipe it all off or put color over it. So goodbye blends. With solvent, all I'll do is just puff a little bit of color through here, a little bit of color through here. It'll blend out nice and easy. Yeah, especially on these light metallics. Yeah, it can be a bit of a headache, that system, to be honest. But then on the other side, like, I know people that absolutely love it, and don't take that, like, me not being totally in love with it as like a personal insult. Some people are literally just fanboys of things, you know, whatever it be. Spray guns, paint systems, video game consoles, you name it. There's people that just sort of go a little bit too far, I think. Like they take any criticism as like a personal insult, but it's not. It's just that I personally don't think it's the right thing for this shop. And like I just finished saying to Alan, I'm like, he's like, oh, what, don't you like it? And I said, I do like it, but I don't want to use it. If that makes sense. Like, not really. And I sort of explained it. I said, you know, like, it's great for resprays, and you know, the quality of it is great. Like, if you got all the time in the world, sure, yeah, I'd say use it. But we don't have all the time in the world. You know, we've got to get numbers done, we've got to get these cars painted and out the door and get the next one in to make money for the boss, you know. And even if using that system is one car not getting painted per day, if it slows us down by just one car, well then that's 5 a week, you know, you add that up over a year, and it's actually quite a lot of jobs that don't get done just for the sake of swapping paint systems, you know. Yeah, like I did this Mercedes Benz last week. It was a new quarter panel, and I needed to wet on wet the quarter panel, like a non-sanding primer, sealer, whatever you call it. And the gloss just died in the arse, man. I don't know if it's this Standox system or what it is, but well, I don't recall. In fact, I know it didn't when I was using the Glazer at wet on wet. You know, it'd just dry out like a coat of clear, nice and smooth, and you'd never really lose any gloss, or you wouldn't get thick orange peel, or you know, it wouldn't pinch back or anything like that. But when using Standox, man, I just don't like their wet on wet that much. Yeah, as I say, like when possible, I will avoid it. It seems to be okay on bumper bars and like bumper covers, and yeah, like new panels, you can usually sort of just get a nice thin coat on. But yeah, when the parts on the car, I usually try to avoid it. And look, it's one of those things, like if you're using top of the range clear, like the full HS clear, sure, you know, like all shall be forgiven with that kind of clear, you know. But we're not using that, we're using like, well, they actually call it a hybrid. It's like cross between HS and MS. So, you know, it's It's not like a full HS clear that's nice and thick and that will just keep its gloss no matter what. Yeah, at the end of the day, man, like, results are all that really matters, I guess. Well, obviously results, and in this industry you still got to get numbers done, you know, so get them to look good, and don't take all day on, you know, a little job like this. Is it coming up to morning tea now? I'd hope to get maybe my ground coat down by morning tea or something like that, and then get it all cleared up and baking over lunch, or probably baked out before lunch even. There's Alan making a racket, trying to get into the video. Now he actually did a respray just yesterday on his dad's ute, I think it was. I think it got hit, got into an accident, and Alan just said, hey, if I prep the rest of the car up in my own time and use my own paint, can I just spray the rest of it, you know, because we're already painting half of it. So they said, yeah, sure. Gave the whole thing a nice tidy up. Yeah, ran out of shit to say. We're nearly finished masking anyway. Just got to do a few bits of paper around the edges of that boot lid as well. I might even flick the cam off now and see us in the next video, which will be continuing on with this job. Probably be up in a few days. Yeah, still loving that new computer of mine. I got it about a year ago now, but it's still nice and beefy for editing videos. Was it like the Ryzen 7 or something? Or whatever. Either way, it was like the best of the Ryzens at the time when I got it. It's got like 16 cores or something inside the CPU, and it's really good for multitasking, so great for video editing. So if anyone's looking at getting into the video making game, I highly recommend a Ryzen CPU. Really good. Probably better than the Intels at the moment, and well, definitely better prices at least. You know, you get like $500 for your Ryzen, you're looking $1,000 for the top of the line Intels. Anyway, as I say, I think that's about enough for the masking video. Probably covered quite a few things there. And I'll see you in the spray painting video. Gunman out.